We stay with education. We're in the Western Cape, one of the provinces, battling the school placement problems. As you heard there from our reporter, the department says many of those affected are applied extremely late or are new to the province. Western Cape Education MEC David Maynier with us now for more on that. Good to have you, MEC.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners.
So the South African Human Rights Commission indicating 688 unplaced, saying they're concerned about that. I believe that number you're saying is sitting at about 609 at this particular point. What is the disjunction? What is the disconnection between your classroom capacity and this additional demand that you are now faced with?
Well, I think we have to look at both sides of the equation. Historically, we would anticipate probably absorbing, on average every year, about 17,000 additional learners. So there is significant demand and, of course, significant admission pressure. On the other side of the equation, the supply side of the equation, we had really this year, through our Rapid School Build program, set our province, I think, on a very different trajectory. We had an ambitious plan to build 21 additional schools with the largest infrastructure budget of close to 3 billion rand that we had ever mobilized. But in mid-year, of course, national government were hit by a fiscal emergency, and we were forced to cut our budget in this year alone by about 700 million rand. And a combination of the very significant and unprecedented budget cut, together with budget uncertainty for nearly 6 months of this financial year, caused us to have to defer 10 school builds to the next financial year. So a combination of the additional and significant demand, but also budget cuts compromising our ability to expand access, has caused much more significant admission pressure than we had anticipated. But we nevertheless are committed to working over the next couple of weeks to ensure that every child who is applied has a place at the school in the Western Cape.
So are you saying now all your schools are at capacity?
So we have currently placed over 120,000 grade 1s and grade 8s, which of course are the major entry points into the admissions into the education system. And that's about 98 or 99% of all learners who have applied. And our schools have reached capacity. We are probably now working with certainly more than 688 learners. I think the number changes every hour, of course, but probably about 2,000, 2,600 learners where placement is still in progress. The critical thing is that after the 10th day of the school calendar, we will conduct a survey, and we will determine where learners have failed to enroll or pitch up. So even although a school might reflect that it is at full capacity today, it is possible that over the next 10 days, as learners fail to pitch up, that places will open up. And we will, at that point, start to allocate learners who still require places to schools that do have places. And we will hopefully then start to make a significant dent in the number of learners who still require places at school in the Western Cape.
So you will align with that time frame that has been communicated by the National Minister of 10 days, you say?
So each provincial department, I believe, conducts what we call the 10-day SNAP survey, where we determine whether there are any places that can be reallocated to learners. But and certainly that is the first opportunity that we have to make a really significant dent in the number of learners that still seek placement. But in order to square the equation, in order to reach equilibrium between demand and supply, I think is going to take certainly much longer than the 10-day period, as you suggested in your earlier discussion. And the reason for that is the number of extremely late applications. And those are applications which we have begun to receive after the 1st of January 2024. In other words, almost 8 months after the application window closed. Those applications will continue to flow in right through February and March. And so we expect to be working hard and busy resolving these placement issues for a much longer period than just simply the 10 days, as you suggested in your earlier discussion. But we will, again, and I must emphasize this, work with parents to try to ensure that every child who does not have a place actually is allocated to a place at a school here in the Western Cape.
How are you ensuring that there's fair treatment in how these placements are done? I'm saying, we're hearing, for example, murmurs and some noise earlier on, certainly seeing it on social media, of certain parents saying there are certain schools which are denying, for example, their kids access when they know that there is still space available in those schools. And so they're demanding those schools to be open, saying that would only be the fair thing to do and not deny kids a right to learn.
Well, obviously, schools do reach capacity, and sometimes to continue, demand exceeds supply. But all I can say is that I do understand the sentiment, but our objective is to, in the first instance, work hard to expand access to education in our province. By implementing our Rapid School Build program, building more schools over the next 3 years to create more places, and ultimately in the next 2 to 3 weeks to work with parents to resolve these placement challenges in the Western Cape.
David Maynier, that's the MEC for Education in the Western Cape Province. I appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us here on News at Prime.